Dude or dudettes, I kind of spilled the beans 2 weeks ago in my video about what 12 months of eating high fat did to my body, but basically I got my period back. If you didn't watch that video, I've linked to it below and also to the side. I had amenorrhea for 8 years and I have been ovulating now for 2 months and I have had 2 cycles, completely beautiful and amazing. I never thought I would ever say that about getting my period, but I gotta say, when you've been without it for 8 years, it's freaking awesome to get it back. So today, I'm going to be talking about all things amenorrhea. The first one is a loss of period where it never started. So say you're like 14, 15, 16 and you never got your period and it just keeps continuing. And then stage 2 is where you had your period at some point and then it went missing. I shared my amenorrhea story and lack of period story and hormone replacement stuff on my blog a couple of years ago, and I was blown away with how many women suffer from this very thing, either because of their body weight, or maybe they had an eating disorder, or they're on birth control and they went off birth control and they never got their period. And that was really my story. I went on birth control when I was 13. I had had my period for maybe 3 months and it was super painful and really heavy and just horrible. And I got really bad acne, and I wish I would have known what I do now, because it was just an imbalance of hormones and all I had to do was really balance it out. And but unfortunately I went on birth control, and I was on birth control until I turned 21. And I went off birth control because I was studying holistic nutrition at the time at CSNN and learned that birth control wasn't all so good. So I got off of it. That was in 2007. And so I had been 8 years on the pill. I'm 29 years old now. So I was 21. My period never came back. And for about 5 years, I didn't care. I was 21. I could swim whenever I wanted. I didn't have to worry about things. I saved like $100 on feminine products every month. So it really wasn't an issue. And at that time I was thinking, I don't want babies, so like who cares if I don't get my period? Whether or not you want babies should not dictate whether you have your period or not. So if you're having issues with fertility and your cycle, regardless if you want kids or not, it's super important to get your cycle on track. Fast forward a couple of years and I was finally in a place, like I was getting married, Kevin and I were really happy, and I knew that this was an issue and I knew I had to deal with it. So I started meeting with gynecologists, and then they would ask, like, do you want babies? And I would say, well, not right now, or maybe not ever. And they're like, why do you care? And I was like, because it's important, because I'm not ovulating and I would really like to, because it's a sign of health, no? And I met a lot of doctors like that, and a lot of endocrinologists that told me to just go back on the pill. And then I met one endocrinologist that convinced me that going on hormone replacement therapy was a good idea. And so I got my period a month after I started with the hormone replacement therapy. So this was an estrogen patch that I wore on almost like my butt, like right above my butt. And I wore that all the time, and I replaced it, I think it was like every 3 days. And then on the 1st to 10th day of every month, I would take a progesterone pill. And I kept that up for 9 months, was getting my period, all was awesome. The doctor was like, yeah, everything's so great, we don't even need to test you. But I wasn't ovulating, and I just felt crazy, like straight up mad crazy. And I was gaining weight like mad, and I don't care if I'm gaining weight for health. Like, if gaining weight helps me get healthier and helps me be balanced, totally awesome with it. But I felt crazy. I felt crazy. And I remember the doctor saying, so you're likely not going to feel so good when you go through this therapy, and you're probably going to gain a lot of weight. And in the back of my head, I was thinking, okay, but if we're trying to get me balanced, why would I feel like garbage? And so after 9 months, I just figured I've been having this cycle for 9 months. Maybe if I go off of it, it'll boost my body, as all the doctors said. Well, I went off of it and I didn't get my period again. And at that point, I felt like I was going to give up. But then I persevered and I kept going, because I knew that I would discover what worked well for my body if I just kept trying things. And so I met my naturopath who specialized in women's hormones back in May 2014. So I didn't waste any time. I went right back at it. And she introduced me to keto, and I got going with the whole keto thing, and my hormones really started to increase. By December of 2014, my hormones were at the highest they had ever been. My cholesterol was high, which is a good thing when you're trying to heal your hormones. It's the precursor for all of your hormones, so you want your cholesterol to be high enough that your body can use that cholesterol to make all of the hormones. Ordered every blood test, every urine test, every single test, x-ray, ultrasound, everything, to really get an idea of what my body was saying. And reviewing those results was like the most liberating and most scary thing probably I've ever done. Well, one of the most anyways, because it was so evident that I had been spending a lifetime of depleting my body. And when I was reviewing these results with this doctor, it was like somebody just hit me over the head like, Leanne, wake up. Like, you have to wake up or you are going to, well, in a way, die early. Like, there's only so much this body can handle. And that was a major wake-up call to me. So after that meeting, I shifted towards more of a fat-fueled lifestyle, which I have outlined in my newest program, Fat Fueled. I switched to a fat-fueled lifestyle where I am still burning fat as fuel, but I am being a lot more lenient and a lot more open. And in fact, by doing this, I'm eating more ketogenic than I ever have before. I'm just not stressing about it. The days leading up to when I got my period, dun dun dun, let's go through them. I ovulated 18 days before I had my period. I traveled from Calgary to Frankfurt. I was on my own for a little bit, met up with family and friends, and Kevin, he was there for work, and it was amazing. But I was on a plane, flew to Germany, got to Frankfurt, and the next morning, that's when I got my period. That night, I had a huge bowl of yogurt, like dairy-free yogurt. It was huge. I was just so hungry and so tired. It was yogurt with coconut oil and like grain-free granola and salt. I was just so hungry, and berries. It was so good and so nourishing. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm just so happy to be here. And I didn't have any stress. I'd taken 10 days off work, and I was just ready to be in Germany, in my husband's home country, and just experience everything that was ahead of me. And the next day I woke up, went to the bathroom, and holy crap, it happened. It wasn't until I found the doctor that was willing to support me and listen to me and respect my experience that I felt supported. It wasn't until my hypothalamus, so your hypothalamus, I imagine like the master computer and the record player that plays in your head constantly, saying this is not safe, we can't have this going on. Until I took that record, smashed it, and moved on and stopped tracking and stopped worrying about all of the things, was when I really let go of control, that I ended up gaining control in a way. And I never gave up, regardless of what doctors were saying. If it didn't resonate with me, I said thank you and I left their office. I've met with many women that put so much trust in their doctors, and if you found a good doctor that resonates with you and you totally understand each other, awesome. But if the doctor's saying things and you're like, what? No. And then you agree to it just because they're a doctor, like, no, it's your body, it's your life, it's your responsibility. And so I just kept telling myself that constantly, all the time. I will find someone to support me, and in the meantime, I will do X, Y, and Z. And it led to marvelous things. But the fact that I got my period, like, I know that everything that I'm doing is working. And up until this point, while I made momentous changes, eating high fat and being okay with animal fat has been like the spark that ignited my journey toward being here right now. And so really, that's what my newest book and program, Fat Fueled, is all about. It's about taking the ketogenic framework and making it work for women that are healing from imbalances. And I got news for you. I would say like 95% of you watching right now probably has imbalances, usually to do with your thyroid or adrenals or sex hormones. If your periods are irregular, if you suffer from depression, anxiety, candida, like all of these imbalances, if you don't feel like $1,000,000, then there's work that needs to be done within your body. And I really feel and believe and am living truth that fats can help take us there, but there needs to be some adjustments. And I want to start the conversation about the fact that keto doesn't have to just be 20 grams of carbohydrates all of the time. While that may work really great for men, which unfortunately the space is saturated with men talking about this, it's really about how can we use fats to heal and how many carbohydrates are okay for our body with where we're at right now. Our bodies want to be healed and balanced. They want to be at a specific weight. They know what's good for us. And so if we just step aside and let our bodies totally rock it, we may be surprised at where it goes. And that's definitely been my experience through eating this way and discovering a ketogenic eating style that works best for me and maintaining being fat fueled, but also understanding that my body is different from your body, that will be different from Sally's body down the street, and really honoring that. I've linked below this video for everything that I've ever talked about hormones, amenorrhea, hormone replacement therapy. So if you want to check it out, do it. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about all the things high fat, feel free to grab my book linked up here and also below. And if you want to hear from me every Wednesday about all things high fat, hormones, who knows what else I'll be talking about in the future, adrenals and thyroid, feel free to subscribe to my channel. You go here in the corner to grab that and click and subscribe. Also below if you're watching this on my blog. And I will see you next Wednesday. Bye!